Hi, good morning. In the last class, we discussed about the two phases of photosynthesis, that is light reaction and dark reaction. And we also discussed about the light harvesting complex, which contains set of pigments, right? Now in today's video, we will discuss about the light reaction in detail. So photosynthesis is divided into two phases: light reaction and dark reaction. In light reaction, ATP and NADPH are synthesized, and in the dark reaction, glucose is synthesized by using these ATP and NADPH. So it means the dark reaction is dependent on the products of light reaction. If light reaction is not taking place, if light intensity is too low or too high, then the light reaction will be inhibited and there will be no synthesis of ATP and NADPH. And if ATP and NADPH are not there, dark reaction cannot take place because we need ATP and NADPH for the synthesis of glucose. Then we discussed about light harvesting complex, LHC, which contains set of pigments, and these pigments are accessory pigments, and then we have the main or chief pigment of photosynthesis, that is chlorophyll A, and the accessory pigments are xanthophylls, chlorophyll B and carotenoids. Okay, now if we talk about chlorophyll A, then it can absorb at 680 nanometer or 700 nanometer. Okay, so the absorption maxima can either be 680 or 700 nanometer, and this chlorophyll A mainly absorbs sunlight in the blue and red region. If you look at the visible light, okay, the light which is visible to your eyes, that appears to be white, right? But if this visible light is passed through the prism, then it will split into 7 colors, that is Vibgyor: violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange and red. So white light, visible white light gives you 7 colors. And if you talk about chlorophyll A can absorb blue and red light. Then what about other colors? These other colors can be absorbed by these accessory pigments. So basically these accessory pigments are just increasing the efficiency of the output, efficiency of the photosynthesis, so that more and more light energy can be absorbed and more glucose can be synthesized. Now if the chlorophyll A absorbs at 680 nanometer, it will be called as photosystem 2, and if it absorbs at 700 nanometer, it will be called as photosystem 1. So depending upon the absorption maxima of chlorophyll A, we have two types of photosystem. This 1 and 2 is not on the basis of its functioning, but the 1 and 2 numbers have been given on the order of their discovery, okay, the order in which they have been discovered. Now we will discuss light reaction in detail. So we have photosystem 2, which absorbs at 680 nanometer. When light energy falls on this photosystem, okay, light energy or solar energy is there. So when the light energy falls on this photosystem 2, which absorbs at 680 nanometer, the electrons will be excited. You might have done this in chemistry as well, that whenever the electrons, whenever any substance is illuminated by light or any other energy, its electrons are excited and they jump from ground state to the higher energy state. So similarly, when the PS2 is going to absorb this light energy, its electrons will be excited, they will be released from the ground state and they will enter in the higher energy state. So electron is traveling to the higher energy state, and here you have primary electron acceptor. This primary electron acceptor is going to accept these electrons which are released from the photosystem 2. And how the electrons are released from here? By absorbing light energy. So now electrons have reached higher energy state from the ground state. Now once the electrons reach higher energy state, they will come back to the lower energy state. Okay, electron is coming back to the lower energy state, and while the electron is coming back from higher to the lower energy state, energy is released, and that energy will be utilized for making ATP. Phosphate is added to ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and it is converted into adenosine triphosphate. Now phosphate is being added to ADP to form ATP, and this phosphate is being added in the presence of light. So this is called as photophosphorylation. Photophosphorylation, which means addition of phosphate group in the presence of light. So photophosphorylation. So your ATP is formed by this process. Now why energy is released while the electron is coming back from higher to lower energy state? It is very similar to the potential energy of water in case of dams, where the energy of falling water is used to move turbines. Okay, when the water falls from a height, that is, it comes from higher level to the lower level, then energy is released, and that energy is used to move turbines. In the same way, when the electrons move from higher to the lower energy states, the energy is going to be released, and that energy we are using here to form ATP. Now these electrons which are coming back, they will come to photosystem 1, which absorbs at 700 nanometer. This is also illuminated by light. Light energy is coming here as well. Now as the light energy is falling on the photosystem 1, it will absorb the light of wavelength 700 nanometer, as a result of which the electrons which are coming to photosystem 1, they will again jump to higher energy state. Okay, and here again you have electron acceptor. So earlier the electrons excited from photosystem 2 and they went to primary electron acceptor. From here, that is from higher energy state, they came back to the lower energy state, and while doing so energy is released that is utilized for making ATP. Now when the electrons reach photosystem 1, photosystem 1 is also absorbing light energy, so these electrons will also be excited and they will reach the higher energy state, and where they will be accepted by the electron acceptor. Now from here, from the higher energy state, they will again come back to the lower energy state, and while doing so again the energy will be released, and that energy we will use for making NADPH. We have NADP positive. This NADP positive will accept the protons or hydrogen ions, and it will be converted into NADPH. So the main motive of light reaction was to synthesize ATP and NADPH, and here you have formed ATP as well as NADPH. I'll explain the process again. You have photosystem 2 which absorbs at 680 nanometer. Once it is illuminated by light, it will absorb the light energy or solar energy, and the electrons will be excited. They will jump from lower energy state to the higher energy state, where they are accepted by the primary electron acceptor. Now these electrons will come back to the lower energy state, where they will be accepted by photosystem 1. And while coming back from higher to the lower energy state, electrons are going to be released. Energy is going to be released, and that energy will be utilized for making ATP. That is called photophosphorylation. In the next step, the photosystem 1, that is also illuminated by light, so that will also absorb light energy, and the electrons which are received from here, they will be excited to the high energy state, and from the high energy state these electrons come back to the lower energy state, and again energy will be released, and that energy is utilized for making NADPH. So this is how the light reaction takes place to form ATP and NADPH, and this entire reaction is taking place inside thylakoids. We have discussed the structure of chloroplast, in which we discussed what are thylakoids. Okay, these are small rounded structures present in the cytoplasm of the chloroplast. If it is single structure, that is called thylakoid, and if the thylakoids are piled one above the another and they form a structure like this, then that is called as granum. So this entire reaction, that is light reaction, is taking place here in the thylakoids or the granum. Now you must be wondering that when the light is falling on the photosystem 2, its electrons are getting excited. They are going to primary electron acceptor, then they are coming back, and then they are accepted by photosystem 1. So if this process continues to take place, then photosystem 2 is going to lose all of its electrons, right? अगर ऐसे ही यहाँ पे light energy आती रहेगी और photosystem 2 के electrons निकलते रहेंगे, तो photosystem 2 के तो सारे electrons निकल जाएंगे. And removal of electrons is called oxidation. And here the oxidation is taking place in the presence of light. So this is called as photooxidation. So if this process continues to take place, then PS2 will be completely oxidized. It will be damaged. So we need to replace its electrons. Now how we can replace the electrons? Its electrons are actually replaced by the photolysis of water. So what happens in photosystem 2? Water is going to convert into hydrogen ions, oxygen, and electrons. This hydrogen is responsible for the synthesis of glucose. Okay, this hydrogen will be added to carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide will be reduced and that will form glucose, while this oxygen is released as a gas during photosynthesis. We have done the equation of photosynthesis, that is carbon dioxide, water gives you glucose and oxygen. So it means the source of oxygen gas is the water. This oxygen gas is actually coming from the water molecule. So the water is broken down in the presence of light by photosystem 2, and this breaking down of water in the presence of light is called as photolysis. Photo means light and lysis means breakdown. So that is a breakdown of water in the presence of light. So it is going to give you hydrogen, oxygen and electron. And these are the electrons which are used to replace the electrons of photosystem 2. सो जैसे जैसे वाटर का ब्रेकडाउन होता रहेगा वैसे वैसे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स रिलीज होते जाएंगे एंड दीज इलेक्ट्रॉन्स विल बी गिवन टू द फोटोसिस्टम 2. सो फोटोसिस्टम 2 के जो इलेक्ट्रॉन्स हैं दे आर एक्चुअली रिप्लेस्ड बाय द वाटर. अगर यहाँ पे वाटर की फोटोलिसिस ना हो तो फिर तो फोटोसिस्टम 2 को इलेक्ट्रॉन्स मिलेंगे नहीं, इसके तो सारे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स ख़त्म हो जाएंगे. एंड वंस दिस हैपन्स तो उसके बाद ये पूरा का पूरा जो प्रोसेस है वो बंद हो जाएगा. लाइट रिएक्शन विल स्टॉप एंड वी कांट अफोर्ड दिस. सो हमें फोटोसिस्टम 2 के इलेक्ट्रॉन्स को रिप्लेस करना है एंड दीज आर रिप्लेस्ड बाय वाटर. और फोटोसिस्टम 1 की तो कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है क्योंकि इसको तो यहाँ से इलेक्ट्रॉन्स मिल ही रहे हैं, राइट. सो दिस इज द इंटायर लाइट रिएक्शन.